Hi, I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Rezero Season 2, Episode 25, the season finale of Season 2. Right away, I think that this is the last season of Rezero that is currently out. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I'm right there.
I'm pretty sure you are right as well.
Within talking about that going forward, I was told kind of that there's other ReZero content out there. I don't know what that is. I don't know for certain if that's like movie, OVAs, anything else.
Something we should watch.
Yeah. But after the season finale, we are going to look into it and let you guys know very, very soon what we plan on doing in regards to that other content. I hope that it's something that is worth watching or we can watch because ReZero. But going forward into this episode, Betty is out of the library and we are facing the Great Rabbit together.
I feel like there has to be good figures of Betty out there. And if there is, once we are done with this finale episode, I'm probably going to look to see if there is a good figure of Betty out there on the market. Because I adore Betty. I want her to be my little sister. I have never wanted a little sibling as bad as I do watching the show and wanting this kind of stubborn, adorable Betty.
When I was in like 6th grade, I had 2 older siblings, and I always told my dad, I was like, man, I really want to be a big brother. I really want little, like, you know, little siblings. And my mom couldn't have kids, and I was like, I really want a little sibling. And my dad was like, one day you'll have a little sibling, I promise. And at the time I didn't know, but I'm adopted, and a couple years later I found out who my birth family was, and then I had little siblings.
You were the oldest.
Yeah, I was the oldest sibling then.
It was like a culture shock for so many reasons.
Back to figure talk. Auto figure, please.
Ooh,
God.
Okay, yeah, an auto figure. That's what we need from this show. Mm-hmm. Just like an auto figure and a Betty figure.
And that cat. Remember that cat from the auto episode? Oh my God.
And so we had this really great moment at the end of the last episode with Subaru and Betty holding hands. But what was so great about it is you have Subaru standing next to Amelia. You know, we're looking at all these amazingly cute fluffy bunnies, and then the camera pans and you see that Subaru is holding Betty's hand, and I was like, yes!
You can step back now.
I can't wait.
The rest to me.
Yes.
You ready?
I'm stepping back, leaving the rest to Subaru.
Sweet. Wow.
It is good she finished so that they could go in there. She shakes his hand.
Contract was only just signed.
The perfect handicap.
Holy shit. I hate that clacking.
We made a contract with Betty.
Oh!
Yes! Shatter them!
Don't leave me alone. Holy shit!
That's hard to say. That's so real of him. Only multiply up to a certain number.
That's true. That has been a through line.
They don't have to do it alone, so who's Betty getting help from?
Damn!
They're fenced in.
Trace the line.
This is amazing!
I am legitimately going to cry.
We're lifting them in the air?
Yo!
This is gonna make a great swimming pool. Sent them some. Brilliant. You let go of her hand.
End the series. Like, just, I'm kidding, but that was amazing.
Wow.
This is a sight. Oh my god. Fucking love Subaru, dude. Oh my god!
What?
私と君は言葉を交わし足りないね。おそばにあれた時からずっと。先生ってロズワールなの？とロズワールだよ。違う、そうじゃなくて。私は僕はロズワールだ。魂の天使。
She didn't realize that he did it?
理論の探求。殻の器に別人の魂は定着しない。魂との親和性の高い器を用意してやればいい。
Oh my god. Love seeing your reflection. Oh my god.
Wow, and now they're on the same side together.
I love that they keep changing the image of him.
Look at all the little snow animals.
ミリアタン変わったよね。なんか強くなった。それってスバルやみんなのおかげよ。ないものばっかりだから。
All I do is take insufferable witch.
俺もそればっかな気がすんだけどな。あのね。すごい勢いで顔赤くなってるけど大丈夫？
And the ears.
I love the ears.
大事なお話があります。
Is it the kiss?
スバルが好きだって言ってくれたでしょ。すごく嬉しいんだけど、やっぱりちゃんと話しておかなきゃって。私のお腹の赤ちゃんの話を。
Does she think kisses make you pregnant?
男の子か女の子かわからないけど、
She thinks kisses make you pregnant.
お父さんに相談しなくちゃって。
エミリアさん、待って、赤ちゃんって赤ん坊のことだよね。鳥が運んできたり、キャベツ畑で収穫したり。
男の人と女の人がチューしたら
Oh my god.
赤ちゃんができる。
So good! Thank you for this treat. That is the cutest thing. Puck! Oh my god. Puck is like laughing wherever he is right now.
It's the first thing he's gonna bring up when he comes back someday. Everybody gets theirs.
それでは一通りのけじめをというわけで話とかもろもろしたいと思います。
Oh.
ぶち切れると。
Wow, look at the squad.
で戦っていくにはローズワールド落とし前をつけさせるってのは当然だが、はい、さよならってわけにはいかん。得意かねえな。
旦那様を許しますわ。
何言いやがんだ。
旦那様にお世話になってきましたわ。旦那様のお力を借りました。多くを学ばせていただいて。
姉貴もラムも利用され。
熱くなってるところすみません。アフィールが起こるのも当然。みそぎに参加しましたが、
もう腰の入ったいいパンチしてた気が。
ともかくこちらに譲るおつもりで。
たちの懸念は私がいつどこでまたそれは無用な心配だよ。
てめえの口約束にかけらでもし。
目に見える形でそれを証明しよう。
制約の受印かしら。
制約の受印？
契約と制約、それに盟約があるのよ。国またがるもの。そして制約は
私は戦いに敗れた。君たちに危害を加えることはでき。私の魂は汚れ、他に包まれて消失する。
Wow.
虚無へ落ちる。そういう誓いだ。
に俺がしくじってたら。
この受印は君に刻まれて、
Wow.
誓いに逆らうともやっていた。
けど、これでロズワールは俺たち。誰か何かあるか？
Amelia?
オーケー、エミリアタン。
みんなったらすごく変よ。まだ一番大事なことをやってないじゃない。この話し合いを終わらせるなんてしちゃダメよ。悪いことをしたらごめんなさいってしなきゃダメじゃない。反省した証にあれしなさい、これしなさいって一回でもみんなにそれを言ったの？私聞いてない。
謝れよロズワール。これからも一緒にやってこってが当たり前のことだ。
As a human being. Oh, the line he said to Betty
ごめ
earlier.
んなさい。
それでいいのよ。
Where are we? Look at them!
Man.
Otto has a hat.
I love Otto's hat. Looks so good with his bow. Whoa! Subaru!
上がりしてる仮住まいでってのは厚かましさ。
A rented space.
ミロード家はメイザース家の分家にあたるし、エミリア様に続婚だ。
Whoa.
息を吹き返した先生との再会の望みであり悲願だ。
そんな手段があるのかよ。
英知の書が失われ、受印に縛られ、先生を諦めるつもりは毛頭な。私は君を見張り続けることにする。は失うことを拒絶し、すべてを拾い切ると決めた。その失ったものを取り返す。
Each time you get them back.
傷を増やし続ける。
Invisible wounds.
妥協は許さない。私を先生のもとに導いてくれるのはスバル君。
Wow.
The double-sided.
ではこれより騎士女君の儀式を始めますわ。夏木スバル、前へ。
Father, Knight, Subaru.
今日だけは。
So good.
Oh, he's got a sword. Look at it. Where's Julius? He needs to be here.
まばゆい世界を見下ろす太陽に、世界を見守る星々に、地に、光に、すべてに満ちる精霊に、あなたを育み、あなたを送り出す大いなる世界に、あなたを築いたその
The
誇りに、
pride.
あなたを見守るすべてに、育む世界に、 あなたを支える誇りじないあり方がありますよ。迷わず心のままにあれますよ。その志のあるがままに取り巻く何もかもと同じようにこの身を守ってくれること、誓っていただけますか？
精霊に、世界に、誇りに、
Oh.
そして父に、二人にかけて誓います。俺は君を守る。君の願いを。俺の名前は夏木すばる。君だけの騎士だ。ミリアタンのその格好、超エロかわいいね。
バカ。
Oh,
Oh my God! Look at Otto.
Betty and Petra. Did you see Betty and Petra
Looking
interacting?
at Otto. Garp had his hair slicked back.
同性のお迎えが来たのかと思った。
I love her outfit.
I love his outfit.
酔ってるの？
雰囲気と自分に酔ってるとこ。
ほら、やっぱり酔ってる。
どうも前よりやりづらくなった気がして。
この後、私の騎士様に聞いてほしい話があるの。
俺もエミリアタンに聞きたい話がいっぱいあるんだ。
じゃあ、約束。式が終わったら大事な
No.
話をしましょう。の部屋に来てくれる？
約束破りの常習犯な俺だがの部屋に呼ばれてその約束を破るという選択肢があるだろうか。いや
I'm
ない。
scared.
ちょっと何言ってるのかわかんない。
何があっても俺は君に幻滅したりしない。
Maybe tell him what she saw.
Never become disenchanted with you.
大事なのは最初でも途中でもなく最後なんだから。そのまんまなわけじゃないでしょ。
なんでわかるの？
エミリアタンが頑張る理由に大きくしたいってのが加わるなら一番に手伝わせてよ。
The circle around you bigger.
スバルに頼っていい？
俺が何を誓ったと思ってるの？誰より最初に俺を手伝えることなら何でも手伝うし一緒に考えるか
I'll
ら。
think about it with you. I love that so much.
私の理想の光景だわ。忘れないから。
Oh, it's like pictures from the event.
Look at Garf. He looks so sweet.
Look at his little orange juice instead of wine.
Yo, Otto's wasted. That makes me very sad, and I don't want to think about it. I thought that Rem was going to be awake by the end of the season.
It's sweet though that they still like they knew that she'd want to be there,
Yeah.
even if she wasn't in there.
I love
Yes!
that so much. I love Subaru's outfit because,
I
like, you can see
know.
the orange from the tracksuit
And the
kind of
purple
vibe.
looks
Yeah.
so good with it.
Okay, that was ReZero Season 2, Episode 25, the finale. Can I start?
Yeah.
I completely understand why Amelia didn't recognize Echidna at her grave. She looked so different. She looked so different.
Are you saying this as an Echidna enthusiast, or just the fact that someone would look different if they were dead versus alive?
No. This is way different than dead versus alive. Like, they're like, her nose looks different. The face shape looks different. This is way different than the Echidna that we see in at the Tea Party. Like,
Then why
way
would
different.
why would she look different? Actually,
Like, this is way different than other Echidna.
Yeah, but like, why would she actually look different other than that being just the angle of which and the lighting that they're showing the face in?
My first thought is that it's a different age. Like, it's like, you know how in some works of fiction or interpretations of like heaven or an afterlife or realm, you take on your most favorable appearance or like the prime appearance or like how you want, like how you see yourself even.
Mhm.
Like, I picture that the Echidna that is dead here was older after the unsuccessful attempts at like immortality and soul transferring and this is how, because that's the only thing that makes sense in my mind of how Amelia wasn't able to like recognize her as quickly, because she looks remarkably different.
I guess I just don't see her as looking remarkably different. I see it as being like, if I were to show you my face being lit from different angles, you know, with really harsh shadow, some of them are going to be more flattering than others. That's how I viewed it. But you do bring up a good point of
Look,
the idea
I've
of,
stared
like,
at Echidna's face
she does
for
look
long enough.
a lot younger than the shape face, maybe even.
Yeah, it's the
is
shape
younger.
face. It's definitely the nose.
You're right to say that
The eyes.
she is possibly portraying herself visually as in the prime and died older than what we've seen her as. That's fair. But she's in the same outfit with the same clip and the same color hair.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that if someone was in the same signature outfit they wore all the time with the same hair clip and the same hair color, and they were in the graveyard that they were supposed to be in, I think that you would, like, deduce, even if they looked a little older.
So what other reason would you think?
I don't know. That line has been a question mark in my mind of why Amelia did not. I thought maybe. I think one of my theories was like to try to like figure out that line was maybe Echidna was like not showing herself to Amelia or something. Because I was like, that's literally Echidna's dress with Echidna's hair clip.
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
Why is it that Amelia would be like, who's that? You know?
Yeah.
So that line has been one that I have pondered about. I have no understanding of it, and that could just be on me. Maybe I'm being too blockheaded with it.
You're right that it's a question mark, but that's what I first assumed, like prime version, you know?
Well, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But it also wouldn't make it so you didn't recognize someone if they weren't decomposing.
What was the actual line that Amelia had said?
I think she said, "Who's that?" I don't remember what episode was it? It was right after she finished the trials. Was it last episode?
Let's try to pull it up. It's right around here.
Here we go.
2 episodes ago. I think it's intentional that we don't see her face until now. You know? It makes sense. Like, if it was something other than what I'm thinking, I think that they don't show her face at all. Who is this? This should be Echidna's grave. I think it's just an older version of Echidna.
Yeah, but that still confuses me on how you wouldn't be recognizable if you're in your iconic same dress and same hair clip.
The face looks
where
different.
your grave should be.
You know?
So it's more so like, hey, I was expecting someone who looked exactly like what I saw, and this person looks slightly different, so it seems like an imposter in the grave.
Yeah, or just like I don't know. That was my interpretation of it.
It is interesting then that Betty and Roswell wouldn't have a similar reaction, probably because they would have known the older version.
So they wouldn't have had a similar reaction. If they did have a similar reaction, I'd get you. But the fact that they didn't have a reaction
means they would have known the older version of her. Yeah.
So that adds up to me.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But what I want to talk about though, so like, okay, I understand. I might be off base here, but entertaining the idea for a second, if that is the case, I wonder what the true, like, the idea that Minerva might be Amelia's mom. I wonder what Minerva, if that would be the case, would have looked like at the time of Minerva's death, as opposed to what we've seen Minerva look like.
Right.
Or all the other witches.
We're told that Satella killed all of them.
Yeah.
But we're not told if it was all at the same time. You know? Were they all alive and born at the same time? Or, you know, there really is some fuzz in terms of understanding timing and age and how long this transpired of Satella, you know, killing all of the other witches and all of them dying. all of them are relatively young when we see them, which is not living to your peak or potential if you're an incredibly strong person.
Yeah.
So you would think that Typhon would not have died as a little girl that's like Betty's size.
Yeah.
So that's a good point to bring up, that they might be kind of showing themselves or being perceived as their ideal time.
I mean, if it like exists in a plane that isn't,
is more of a dream
Yeah.
world of sorts.
you know?
Yes, that would make sense. So that means wherever the grave for Amelia's mom would be, if it is Minerva,
Or yeah.
if it is any of the other witches and they have a grave and they're in it, how did they stop? Is it a spell that keeps her from decomposing?
It was like that whole, I imagine it was that whole like spell that Amelia was like looking upon, but that was also for the sanctuary. So
Yeah.
it
But I feel like there has to be something else that would be keeping her from decomposing, because I feel like you wouldn't kind of add your decomposition as one of the like parts of a more elaborate spell that you do somewhat hope in the future is dispelled.
Yeah. I do think that like the idea that Satella, which I think is more far-fetched than the Minerva thing, the idea that we've talked about that Satella could be a future Amelia, the idea of it being so far in the future that Amelia actually does change and grow up, but as we perceived it, it was the Amelia that we like look at now, you know? It would fit in with that whole like theory of like becoming that, and that future version not necessarily being a 1-for-1 for the one that we see in the Tea Party.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I hated hearing to change it up, sorry, I hated hearing the rabbits clacking their teeth. That was awful to me. That might just be a me thing, but that I was like, stop, I hate this, kill them all now.
When you were like, I want to go where I want to go first in the discussion, I knew you were gonna go for Echidna.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with the second choice of most just like sound, like chalkboard, nails on a chalkboard sound. Brilliant, horrible. The bunny's teeth, I completely agree.
Yeah. I also want to know if it's like an improv choice or just well written of the Minya, that's hard to say. Minya, like that is amazing.
Loved that moment. That was so real of him.
It was.
Because sometimes like spells, like if you grew up watching Harry Potter, some of those spells I'm like, how I would and it's like a bit in like one of the first Harry Potter movies where like one of the characters is pronouncing one of the spells wrong and like Hermione like corrects him, and I'm like, if I was in a magical world, that would be happening all the time. Not Leviosa.
Yeah. Dude, Betty, the way that Betty actually got rid of the Great Rabbit was ingenious to me. Like, I was wondering how it was going to happen with the knowledge of like, we had talked about how you have to, like, try to get rid of them. And I was like, yeah, but, like, in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, this is great, Minya, and they're all fucking turning purple and dying, and I love that. But it doesn't feel right for like the finishing blow with Betty involved, and the idea of her sending them to an isolated space that they never can escape from, that is in the realm, is this in the same idea and vein of the Forbidden Library, is awesome to me.
What was the fact that once they didn't have anyone else to get to, then they started turning on each other?
Yeah.
That like insatiable like bloodlust and hunger they have, that as soon as they were lifted off of the ground and being transported to that isolated place, they then started to turn on each other. My initial reaction to what she had done was not that she had started sending them to some other place. It was that she had made a spell that made them turn on each other.
Yeah.
But if I actually think about their like gluttony
mm-hmm.
and their like insatiable hunger and bloodlust, I love the idea of like, as soon as there's no other prey around, they would literally, it makes sense that it would be this creature that would like eat everything in the world, and then once there's nothing to eat, it still needs to eat. it's like that really fits with like Daphne. I feel like that so fits with how she would have created the bunny.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines from Betty about the rabbit was, they may be infinite, but that doesn't mean there's no upper limit, I suppose. I really loved that one.
It's like that same idea of like, is impossible really impossible, or is it just that there's no precedent for it?
Yeah. I really want to read like 30 seconds of like just like bars from from between the conversation of Roswell and Betty over a kid in his grave.
Let's hear these bars.
Because I think I really wanted to talk about one that comes earlier in the conversation, and it leads into something I think you would want to talk about a little later. I chose Subaru, who is not that person, I suppose. Because when I asked him to be that person for me, he laughed. He insisted that he could make me happier than some stranger I wouldn't even recognize, I suppose. That is quite an arrogant answer, which, yeah, of course. But I don't dislike how pushy he is. Are you sure about this? You will never be number one to Subaru. You seem to be mistaken, I suppose. I didn't leave the Forbidden Library because I became his number one. I left because I want to make Subaru my number one.
It takes me back. It like literally full circles the one life where we got Betty's help and then made a contract with her. This like completely brings back one of the best scenes with the original Mansion storyline in season 1, which is him making that contract for Betty's protection and then jumping off the cliff.
Yeah.
And what that did to Betty, like emotionally. This has made me so incredibly happy. I don't know why I was like a silly goose and didn't even go contract route. I think it's because I just don't view Betty as a spirit. Because like all the other spirits we see are Puck, that's a cat, and then little glowy lights.
Yeah.
So like when I see Betty, I'm like, child that has lived a long time.
Dude, I was so... You remember last episode and I was like, oh, wait, oh, never mind, I'm not going to say it. And you're like, what was it? And I was like, I'm not going to say it, stupid thought.
Was that the thought?
No, my stupid thought was like, I wonder if Betty was one of the spirits who was like playing with Amelia and guiding her out of that room. And I'm like, that literally makes no sense. And I'm a fucking idiot, and I don't even want to say it because I'm a fucking idiot. I think one of my favorite through lines this entire season has been that of the reflection within
the eyes.
Yeah, and like what that truly means and what we've learned it to mean. Like it started slow in the theme of what Subaru was trying to say to Amelia, of not only, it's a cool shot of being able to see the reflection of another person in your eye, but that true understanding and seeing through words to see that intention from someone. And I adore it, and I have, and it literally crescendoed and a cherry on top, like written backwards almost, and cultivated in this amazing moment of Betty seeing Roswell as that the past iteration, the original.
I think that I really also have loved this. It's not, yes, in a romantic setting like with Amelia and Subaru, it is very romantic and very sweet, as it was when we saw it happen during them in their confession in the hallway of the graveyard. But when it's seen here with the line over top of it of like, would you curse me as an inhuman monster? Like, would you call me that? And seeing him as this young human version of himself before all of this time that he's gone through 400 years, partnered with the ending. I don't know if we get to it in conversation, so I just want to make sure that I highlight it now. Subaru calls Roswell as a human being. It's not a line that holds too much attention.
In terms of like the him should be apologizing.
In the conversation, it is a line that is down here in comparison to a lot of the other lines that are happening in that moment, of everyone kind of giving their 2 cents to Roswell, him apologizing. Those are maybe the more important things that are happening there. But just the fact that he is like, as a human being, knowing that earlier in the episode, Roswell's kind of searching in people this idea of like, have I lost my humanity completely? Am I completely far gone in terms of losing being a human?
I completely agree with you. I think that I think you're right to focus in on that line, like as a human being, and it's something that wasn't even, I don't think, too much thought about. It doesn't have to be too well thought out from Subaru in his approach of phrasing it that way.
He could have like not even he could have just been
as
fellow humans.
It kind of makes it better if he didn't intend it, and it
Yeah.
kind of makes more sense because that's just how Subaru sees
Right,
it. Like,
and that's
yeah,
what
you
makes it,
are a
like-
human being now. You're like, we're looking at you like that. Respond as that. You
Yeah.
know, you're one of us now. Like
Mhm.
that's awesome. What did you think of the all I ever do is take too?
I think
scene?
that it's sweet that they see similarity in each other in terms of like they now have this relationship in an incredibly healthy sense that is able to feel comfortable enough to be able to call each other out, as well as comfortable enough to be vulnerable and be like, here are my flaws, here are the bad things I do, look at them. In the same way that Roswell earlier is like, Betty is looking at him and he brings up the inhuman idea, like that idea of truly looking at someone and kind of like showing them the reality of like the negative parts of you that people normally would want to hide, so that they would still think that if I hide this, I will still be loved.
Yeah.
And if I let people see this, then they will not love me anymore. But Amelia and Subaru have been able to go through amazing, healthy growth for their romantic life in this season. That is the fact that like love, you to be truly in a relationship that is fully loving and beautiful, it is to not only be aware of the other person's flaws, but be aware and comfortable enough with your own. You have to love yourself as well. And that's kind of been like a major theme of this season, is not only to don't discount everyone else, like they can help you. Don't fight alone, but also like love yourself enough to reach out that hand and to accept hands that are reached out to you.
Yeah. It just feels like I liked the dismount of the growth, of like the acknowledgement of like Subaru saying to Amelia, like, oh yeah, you've changed. I wouldn't have, if I've changed, it wouldn't have been without everybody else, you know? I think that it was already impressive enough to, in terms of writing, to like have that change come to fruition and feel well-deserved and feel real, but coming out of it too, it just felt wholesome. I know that by the end of the episode, you, I think, were more of, oh shit, I don't want something to fly in here and blow everything up and ruin this heartfelt moment. I at that point felt very certain that everything was going to be fine. And I'm going to tie this back in a weird way to what I said about Echidna earlier, because I'm feeling a little insecure about like my idea of it now, like a little bit. But part of the reason I thought that nothing was going to happen was, I think part of me assumed when Roswell and Betty did go to Echidna's grave and they looked at her, they were going to be like, who the fuck is this?
Mhm.
And then if that happened, that would have set the dismount of this Great Rabbit tragedy ending in a direction of like unsettled territory. But the fact that it wasn't touched upon in that way gave me comfort in the rest of the episode in terms of like, how are we going to end this arc?
Right. My fears at the end of the episode were not founded in any actual like narrative idea of what could be the issue, because everything was pointing towards this arc is ending. If there had been an issue, it would have been a new introduction of either an old issue that was coming back in or something completely new, and that would have been pretty wild as a season ender. I know sometimes anime tries to end their seasons off in a just in case we don't get another season type way. Like I've seen a lot of shows that try to end things and bookend it in a way that's like, okay, well, if we don't get another season, people are still interested enough that they'll go buy the manga, but they're not so, like, it's not a cliffhanger that leaves people, like, you know, too unsettled or unsatisfied from the season. That the season is able to have somewhat of a bookend. And so Roswaal was the villain antagonist of this season, other than like Echidna being slightly an antagonist because of having trials. But Roswaal's the one that like was putting into motion any of these rules, situations, fights, like mansion being attacked, the sanctuary. He was kind of playing this game and setting everything up. And now that he has kind of been, you know, that Subaru has won and he's acknowledged that, any other conflict would have had to come from something new or from season 1, something totally that hasn't been in the picture for a while. And I think that it was just because Rezero as a show keeps me on my toes of thinking that something's always going to come in to ruin it. And we're having such a sweet moment there about not breaking promises. And there kept being like enough time between lines that it was like, an explosion could happen right now. Someone could get murdered right now. You know, they just kept feeling like that. And Roswaal's lines, that's what we're talking about when we start making that promise. Roswaal, oh, was he messing with you too much? And Roswaal had been saying to Subaru a dialogue that we will definitely get to. So I'm only going to hint at it now because I think we're going to really want to talk about it. The idea that Subaru has wounds.
Invisible ones.
Yes, and it will continue to happen. That is, all that came together in having me feeling very scared at the end of the episode. I don't think it necessarily did a disservice to my, like, celebratory feelings at the end of the episode, but it could have, because I was feeling like, oh no, all of these lines are, like, foreshadowing that something bad is about to happen.
I get what you mean, though. Anna bought me an Echidna figure.
I did.
I wasn't going to bring it up on the channel because I was like...
He already bought a pillow, so...
Yeah. But,
it was a surprise. I will tell you that.
It was a surprise, and I was like, no fucking way. Like, are you serious? And there's an Echidna figure now in my life.
Yep. So now he has 2 things to remind him of one of his, like... in the series or history of our channel, this is probably one of your first major, like, anime crushes. Even if it is more so, like, you might be playing it up. I don't know how much you're playing it up. But it does seem to be one of those characters, like, for the first time in our channel that you're, like, more talkative about and have items with their lovely face on them.
I love, like, a lot of characters from a lot of shows. And, like, one of the characters I adore in this show is like, Otto, for example, right? And I love Otto with all my heart. And I think that a bit of my love for Otto, like, would lead me down the, like, how you mentioned, like, egging on or, like, bit kind of thing, let me to this, like, world of, like, oh, man, I wish more would happen with him. And then it fucking did, right?
Yeah, I know. It was, like,
but
fulfilling a prophecy.
With Echidna, it was nothing like that. Like, my love for Echidna, like, I when we first met Echidna, I was like, whoa, Echidna seems pretty cool. And, like, I was kind of feeling that type of way. But every aspect of, like, knowledge that we got of her and every, like, I don't know, all the twists in her personality, like, really, truly, like, I would have not gotten a figure for myself of Echidna, but now that I have a figure of Echidna sitting in a chair, it is in my life forever.
It's a really nice figure, actually.
It is.
She's sitting in a chair with, like, a book on her lap. It is a really pretty figure, actually.
Man, that, you know, I've met, I don't know if I've met people. I know that people exist who've gotten that supernatural tattoo on their chest, you know? Because, like, canonically in Supernatural, there's, like, a reason for it, right? And people in like in real life are like super fans of Supernatural, so they get that tattoo themselves. I wonder if anybody's gotten the oath contract agreement tattoo that Roswaal has on his chest.
Maybe. I know I'm sure people have gotten, like, in that same vein, like Naruto. I feel like people have probably gotten, you know, a chest or back tattoo. In terms of ReZero, I'm not actually sure how big the fandom is for ReZero.
We've been tuned out from anything.
Yeah. So I don't
years.
actually know how big the following is for this show. If it's something people buy and wear a lot of merch for, is it in
That'd be
stores
a
right
cool
now
tattoo,
as like
though,
t-shirts? Dude. Do people get tattoos? I'm sure at least a few people have gotten ReZero tattoos like that. I think it could be cute to get like the crystal, you know, that like Puck was in. I think that could be a cute
like the
tattoo.
actual like
The actual oath, yeah.
that has the bird Articuno looking thing that is on Subaru's attire at the end with like all the writing around it. And
So if you got that tattoo, then it would have to signify
the contract and oath.
Yes, and are we gonna go into what that would mean to the person?
This was you being smooth and doing a segue, and I fucked it up.
Yeah.
God damn it. Fuck. Okay. An agreement can take the form of a contract, an oath, or a covenant.
Whoa.
A covenant applies to all blood relatives, and an oath binds an individual. I lost my battle. Therefore, per my oath, I cannot harm any of you, and we get the revelation that Subaru would have had a very similar looking seal if things went different.
Yeah, okay, so this still has me. I know that Betty didn't realize that there was a soul transference happening, but this line also still has me have question marks about how he's getting these vessels. Is it really like people that are being born into the family and that are basically being sacrificed and used as vessels? Because if that's the case, it's really effed up. And then as soon as you put this on their body, then like the soul then can transfer into that person. And then does he like do this at every time he turns like 30? He somehow finds another person in the family, and then that person's either a baby or they change how they like look once the soul goes in. Like, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how it's working.
I feel you. We were not shown the actual process of it.
Yeah, I want to see the process. Show me the actual process of vessel making.
Depending on the process, I want to see it.
Okay, true. Like, if it's horrifying, I might not want to see it.
I wanted to talk about something like a little like out of order, but just because I don't want to forget to touch on it. Within Subaru's oath to Amelia, the last thing he says about like making this promise on behalf are his parents, are his mother and father, and it kind of elicited a reaction from Amelia. What the fuck? Okay. Is there any possibility we're touching on that within universe? We cannot talk to people like just we're not telling everybody about return by death because of reasons that exist. We don't know for certain if that same stipulation applies to telling people that we have a mother or father, or talking about them vaguely, or even saying that you're from another world, right?
Or that it is knowledge that can't be said anymore.
Yeah.
Because now there are characters in universe that obviously have somewhat of an idea about what is happening to Subaru. Being like Betty and Roswaal, or maybe Puck.
And like having Amelia go through her own shit that involves her own parents and her own family and Mother Fortuna, and saying a line like, all I do is take two. I feel as if I've connected pretty heavily like to like, I don't know, like emotionally to this season in particular. I don't think that's a surprise to you because we've talked about it off the channel, but
probably on as well.
But because of that, though, it feels like to me the next logical step of growth, or one of the next steps of growth after making so much progress, would be, okay, all I do is take. This is something that I've experienced and I just dealt with. Subaru brought up his mother and father. I really care about him. I love him. I I might ask about them. He's never gotten to talk about his stuff. Would he want to? You know, that seems like a just genuine emotion, that a natural emotion that Amelia might have or feel.
Yeah, I would definitely say as you're progressing in your in their relationship and their love for each other, like Amelia is still very innocent in terms of her idea of maybe how relationships work
And how babies are
love and how babies are made, and I blame all of that on Puck. Not all of it on the fact that she lived a very sheltered life. I blame it on Puck. He purposefully
That's amazing.
misled her a little bit to in such a protective way as to ensure that she wouldn't just kiss anyone.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a kiss is like that special. You can only give it away to like someone you really care for.
It does give father energy.
But I do see an idea, or just a natural idea, that Amelia would either be like, let's go visit your parents, and therefore some discussion would come up about Subaru's situation, probably not going totally into it in an unsafe way.
Yeah.
In terms of actually describing what happens, or a dodging of the topic, like, oh, they are in so and so other place, or but I could see her asking about it.
I don't think I would have thought more, like, too much about it if there wasn't a reaction, because I would have thought that it was just a beautiful way to tie in episode 2 or one of the first episodes of the season where we're in that vision thanks to Echidna. But because of that reaction, I'm like, God, that'd be interesting.
It's like it brings up one of the overarching themes of maybe this season, but also this episode, of the idea of like not wanting to force someone to be something for you, but wanting to be something for them in an unconditional way.
Yeah.
In a way that it's like Ram is for Roswaal, that Ram wanted to do something because she loved Roswaal, even if it was against his like wishes in the moment. We have Betty wanting to choose Subaru as her person. And we have Subaru wanting to be Amelia's knight. And we have Amelia wanting to choose him. And it's like everyone... I love how healthy that sounds, of like not forcing your own ideals onto someone anymore. Because that was so season 1.
Yeah.
Season 1 was so much of putting your own ideas onto someone else. And we're kind of breaking that mold here. We're like... Roswaal's plan has been thwarted. That idea of like trying to curate how someone else acts and what the end of the story is done now. We've eliminated it because we've worked together and we've broken those bonds that were holding us. And now we're all just choosing to care about people without the idea of what we will get back for that service or that love that we are giving. That we are choosing to love this person and care for this person and be there for this person. And I think that message, like, I really am loving hearing about it. Because, like, as you, like, progress in life, you realize that you become a happier person the less that you are looking for something in someone else, or for them to complete something for you, or fix something for you, or change for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, like, depending on what series you're talking about, sometimes if there's a break in between, like, oh, I just watched season 1 while it aired, it takes a couple years for production or a year for production, I watched season 2. If you do your due diligence, or just have a good memory and are able to be like remember everything about characters and like what their motivations were and like get re-immersed into that world, it's not disruptive to go to take time to get into the next season. That being said, I feel so appreciative that we were able to go into season 2 right after season 1, because the idea of Subaru becoming a knight, and how you had brought it up about like what was deserved and like what he was doing in season 1, that around the time of him proclaiming himself as a knight, and what has actually transpired and changed for him to actually be able to be knighted, it feels so rewarding.
He's deserving of it.
Yeah, and it's like so, I don't know, I like the memory, like I think that if there was a break it wouldn't have changed too much, but I do think I benefited from like just really resonating with that growth that Subaru has.
I think that that's a good topic to bring up in terms of us not knowing if there is going to be like any more further content in terms of another season of the show anytime soon. If there is a long pause, then obviously, as just like respect for the show and its writing, like we're gonna do our best to stay in the world the best we can.
Without a doubt.
I'll probably want to watch the dub on my own time, just to like see it in another form, another way, the line said maybe differently or the same. Maybe that'll unlock more understanding for me. It could just be fun to watch it again, you know, with different voice acting.
With all, like, I because we started the channel when, like, on a, like, just randomly.
On a whim.
Yeah, because you never watched reaction stuff, but
no,
I
had never. I'd seen over your shoulder.
Yeah.
You watch some reaction stuff.
I was watching like a lot of Blind Wave reactions at the time of like Jujutsu Kaisen season 1 and I think My Hero like season 1, maybe season 2. And being a fan of like watching reaction channels, when we first started, like I was like so fucking adamant that if there is a break, if we ever continue to watch shows, if it comes back, it is absolutely necessary to, like, things come and go. Like, you need to be able to know what you're watching and be able to actually be immersed in it. And if half the time that you're watching something, you're not able to recall certain details that should be on the top of your head, you're not getting the experience that is intended for you to have by the author.
The things that have been sewn into each season that connect the seasons together, circles that and endings that are happening to certain themes. I think that we have been incredibly lucky for when we started the channel and which shows we started watching and when, because a lot of the shows that we watched that had multiple seasons, a new season was coming out literally a month after we finished. And then we immediately could watch it live like the next season. And that was a definite gift and blessing in that regard.
I agree with you. I just think it's like, not even for reaction's sake. I think for like what's really important to me, just like subjectively to me, is trying to understand and digest whatever the story that somebody is trying to tell as they intended it, so that I can see it from their perspective, so that I can understand what they're saying to the best of what I'm able to, so then I can be like, do I like that or not? What do I like about that? What don't I like about that? If I can see where they're coming from and where their intention was and what they meant when this character said this, that is like my favorite way to digest, review content or media or TV shows or fiction. Like I like to truly understand what somebody means, and that's so important to me, man. And trying to understand what somebody means, let's try to understand what Roswell meant. Yeah?
Okay.
About if I lost anyone, I would not hesitate to reduce everything to ashes. And this is what you were talking about invisible wounds, right?
Something about it will continue to hurt as he goes forward, even if he won now.
I want to say that it's right around here. You will lose things over and over, and each time that you get them back, you will carry on with new invisible wounds.
And that really is what's going to happen. And then, of course, right as we hear that, what do we see?
Yeah.
We look at Rem and Ram.
You decided that you would lose nothing and pick up all the pieces. Like, it's truthfully meta in a way, because it feels like Roswell is talking to a Subaru with the knowledge of Return by Death and, like, all the inner workings of it. But it's so fascinating. I love the term invisible wounds.
I think it also parallels or ties in a conversation that Echidna and Subaru had, where Echidna brings up the idea that like he may have to sacrifice in order to get to his ideal, whatever the ideal future is. He may have to lose a life or two that he wants to save, or not have something go completely as how he would want it to.
You know what I thought, like, just to make a parallel from there, I had that same, like, I remembered that conversation this episode when Subaru was talking to Amelia about the beginning and middle not ending, or not meaning anything, but the end meaning, like, being, like, what's really important. And that's what I was thinking of in that time as well. Like, yeah, it's the end, but it's, like, getting to the end you want with everyone that you want.
And we, as a viewer, obviously want him to achieve that. I think going forward, there is maybe one real loose end that's gonna be tied up, I guess, probably, hopefully, in the next season, and that is, can we get Rem back?
Yo, you know how you were talking earlier, like, yeah, some anime end in, like, a way that if there's not another season, like, everything's, you know, it's whatever.
I meant something like dynamic
I know,
monster attack
I know,
at the very end.
I know, but, like, while you were saying that, I'm like, everything is happy right now, right? And, like, Rem is not. Like, if you take Rem out of the situation, and for some fucked up reason, this never got a season 3, I could see it being that similar vein of, like, oh, you just in case, but holy shit,
there is still a giant narrative storyline that is still open.
Yeah.
There have been villains that we have met, some of which we have even seen in the past, in the trials with Amelia, that we have to see again, and we have to see them again in order to save Rem. And I feel like now that Subaru has gotten knighted and he is working together with everyone, I feel like Rem really is going to be the main focus other than Amelia's candidacy.
Yep.
Rem is going to be the focus. How do we save her and everyone else that has been hurt in the same way that she has?
I don't know. No idea.
We're gonna save her next season. We're gonna save her.
Like, that's about what I have to say, but I do want to say, repeat what we said in the intro, just, like, paraphrase it of, don't know what's next for Rezero content. We were told loosely that there might be other things that we could watch. I don't know if that's movies, OVAs, whatever, but we are going to look more into it after now finishing season 2, and we will let you guys know what we plan on doing next for any future Rezero content. I think that 5 episodes into Rezero season 1, I enjoyed it. I never thought I would enjoy it in the way that I do, though, and I'm really happy. Thank you for suggesting the show.
Yep.
You have anything?
Well, now I feel weird to bring up
something go for
it,
dude.
Since you had such a nice, like, almost an ending to this chapter there, that
Awful
I feel
ending.
like this is gonna be like that person in class, the bell is rung, people are, like, ready to leave, and then that one person's like, but what about this? And I feel like that person
No.
this is just, like, a quick little thing, and I think that it connects to season 1, and it connects to Subaru's journey. It has to, because it was within Amelia's kind of knighting speech to him. She kept using the word pride, but describing it with him in mind and it being a more positive thing. And I think that that's a really nice choice. This idea of these witches and these names and these sins
yeah.
and these ideas and values and personality traits, but that it doesn't necessarily make you a bad person if you have those things. And it really makes you think of the witches and their intentions and the fact that it's all kind of muddy and skewed because, like, they had positive intentions with the things they did, but the things they did were really twisted. Like with Daphne in particular, you know, the fact of, like, creating things that would feed a lot of people because there were so many people that were hungry, but wanting to make it balanced and equal, where it's like, I'm not just, like, there's a cycle to life, and things that are going to be eaten also need to eat.
Yeah.
So I think that it makes me think of that in that same conversation, that these sins are also traits that can be utilized in your favor.
I think that's a great point to bring up, dude. I mean, like, look what I just brought up on the screen from this episode.
Oh, yes. Roswaal, when he was being told by Betty about Subaru's kind of response to her in terms of if he was the right person. Roswaal says that is quite an arrogant answer.
I think, like, that kind of touches in somewhat of a vein of, like, that pride that you're talking about.
He doesn't
like,
lose who he is in this series just because he's gained the ability to look at himself with more love and more favor, and also more open-minded to the people around him being helpful to him. That doesn't change like his personality or who he is.
I love like the potential twist on the negative connotation that are things that are sinful, you know,
that made these people insufferable witches.
Love it.
Yep.
All right, you good?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.
Oh, and that fits into Amelia being misjudged by everyone because of how she looks.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Good job.
Sorry.
Ruined 2 endings.